Hello and welcome to this episode of the GrowVC Everyone Funding Startups podcast. I'm your host Marcus, and today we're here with Tony Dillon and Yoko from GrowVC. And this episode is a little bit of a special episode. We're talking about what we've been up to with GrowVC, what we have coming up, and specifically what we have coming up after this first major update that we've just done. So we've recently launched a new version of the GrowVC site, which is on a high level making it free for anyone to use and removing all the upfront costs. And naturally this is a larger update, but we have many other things in the pipeline to be released soon that we want to talk about, just to get you an idea of what's going on behind the scenes with GrowVC. Especially the last year and a half after coming out with a public version of the GrowVC platform, we've been talking with lots of different actors and getting customer feedback, getting user feedback, getting feedback from partners and all those stakeholders that operate in this area with startup companies and investing. One of these larger updates that we have coming up is what we're calling the networks feature. But that's something that we'll talk about in a few minutes' time. I wanted to put you, Tony, on the spot here right in the beginning. The market has developed substantially in terms of crowdfunding and microfinance. What do you think is the general buzz at the moment in terms of what's going on?
I think the general buzz, especially from Europe and the US, people are very glad that GrowVC has come up with a solution to liquidity in the market. There's been a problem of capital for quite a while now, and it's been fragmented in terms of family and friends, very localized, specific angel networks. It's very difficult to raise finance, and also great ideas and great teams aren't able to access this finance. So they very much see it as a solution to a problem that's been around for a very long time, and they're very excited to get involved and put their profiles on there and meet their funding goals to enable them to basically to fund the great ideas and make viable companies out of them going forward.
All right, taking a step back from the buzz in the market at the moment, even though we've seen that the market has developed a lot, it is definitely still in the early stages of what it will become in the longer term. So what is this networks that we're talking about? What is it, what's it for, and how does it operate? A network, as we're calling them, could be described as a group inside our service that has the tools we've developed, but a network manager that can manage that network and what goes on there, set different rules, preferences, and customize it to their needs. So it could mean that anyone could, in fact, create their own funding network using the existing functionality that we've created, and then customize it so that it generates the most value for whatever partner that is. And these network partners could, for example, they could include incubators, startup accelerators, boot camps, universities, entrepreneurship communities, investor networks, larger corporations, and so on. Let's put Tony on the spot again. These networks, we've been talking about them for a while. Who do you think they're for?
Well, as you mentioned, I think it's for actors in the startup ecosystem who, at different stages of the startup company's involvement, can actually participate, be it for just connectivity, sharing ideas, collaboration tools, working together within their own specific network. And also, in terms of funding, it just doesn't limit to just collaboration, but they're able to utilize GrowVC's tools that we've actually enabled to them to actually evolve their own networks and actually meet some of their goals rather than go to outside participants. And also, it gives a network the ability to collaborate and open up the network to not only the GrowVC community, but engage with other networks in terms of possible networks they may want to collaborate with or already collaborating with at the moment. So there are quite a number of endless possibilities. It's a question of setting up the network to function as they possibly already do, and then seeing how they wish to evolve going forward and listening to their ideas and working with them to meet some of the goals that they may not anticipate as of yet, especially as the market grows and the need grows for them to become more efficient and collaborate further and share ideas and make those ideas a reality.
And also, we've noticed the large reception toward when we've talked about the networks with other people, and they seem to generally get the idea of how people could actually leverage the networks and the tools that we've created. So we actually have a list of pilot partners coming on board for this program. So if anybody's interested in terms of that, then definitely send us a message and we can describe that further. Jouko, let's step back to very basics. Why are we creating the networks?
I think that the main reason is that we want to create effective market for startup funding. And I think that the effective market must be also open. There must be different kind of players. If we think the stock market, there are of course the basic stock market, there are many other investment instruments, there are brokers, there are companies that manage portfolios and so on. And we think that if we think the startup landscape, there are many players like business angel networks, incubators, and many other organizations, also some, for example, some public organizations like local cities or governments or basically organizations that want to support also startups. And they also have quite often, for example, their own network of people and network of startups, and they also need tools. And of course, one option for those players would be to buy software just to manage the deal flow and so on. But we don't think that that is anymore the solution today. Also the traditional software business and how things are working has changed, so that we see that a kind of open marketplace where different players can work together and basically they can also basically select that what is really their position where they can offer value added, so that basically somebody can create a network where they qualify startups locally in certain area, or they can also qualify, for example, entrepreneurs, or they can qualify investors. The network can be totally open also if they have something else what they want to offer, and they can also offer professional services, for example, in due diligence or to make investment agreements and so on. So that it's basically so that I would say that I don't know all ways how this network model will be used. But what I believe is to have a kind of open concept where different players can work together. They can basically offer their own value added, and then it's a market. People, companies decide which one makes sense, which doesn't make sense, and people can also develop their own network concepts and so on. So that to get the open market, different players, the normal market dynamics, I think that that's why the network model is so important, that different parties can also start to offer their services and concepts together with existing GrowVC service.
In addition to that, Marcus.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
It's very interesting to see you talk about corporations, but in the last few weeks, Cisco and PepsiCo have launched funds to actually and specific competitions to help fund specific startups, I believe, in London. And that's significant funding for startups, additional alternative funding, which people need to be made aware of. And these companies not only offer funding, but also help from their teams within the companies and extra services and learning to startups. So it's not just always about the funding and it's also about the expertise